The penthouse was silent, except for the sound of water running behind the master suite door. I stood in the marble hallway, my Louboutins clicking softly as I approached, my heart somehow already knowing what my mind refused to accept. Through the crack in the door, I saw them, my husband Marcus Wellington, tech billionaire, Forbes 30 under 30, and Vanessa Chun from the 20th floor, her diamond tennis bracelet glinting as she traced circles on his chest in our Italian marble bathtub. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I smiled, turned the antique lock, pocketed the key, and pulled out my phone. My name is Diana Castellano, and until 47 minutes ago, I believed I had the perfect life. I'm 31, VP of Strategic Acquisitions at Meridian Capital, pulling down $400,000 a year on my own merit. But my husband, Marcus? He made that in a day. Wellington Tech's IPO last year valued his company at $3.2 billion. We lived in a penthouse overlooking Lake Michigan, attended charity galas where champagne flowed like water, and wore watches that cost more than most people's cars. I thought we were happy. I'd left the office early that Tuesday because I'd forgotten the Nakamura contract, a $20 million deal I'd spent 6 months cultivating. My assistant Jade had called 3 times. Diana, they need signatures by 5. So I'd apologized to my clients, grabbed my keys, and driven the 40 minutes back to our building. The doorman, Victor, had looked surprised. Mrs. Wellington, I didn't know you were coming home. Quick trip, Victor. Forgot some papers. The private elevator hummed as it rose to the 45th floor. I checked my reflection in the mirrored walls, charcoal gray suit, silk blouse, my dark hair pulled back in a flawless chignon. I looked successful. I looked confident. I looked like a woman who had everything. The penthouse door opened silently. Marcus had installed smart locks last year, no keys, just fingerprint recognition. Security, he'd said, for your protection. I'd walked through our living room with its floor-to-ceiling windows, past the Rothko hanging above the fireplace, past the custom furniture we'd chosen together in Milan. Everything perfect. Everything pristine. Everything a lie. That's when I heard it. Laughter. Female laughter I recognized. Vanessa from the 20th floor, the former lingerie model who'd moved in 6 months ago, who I'd invited to our New Year's party, who complimented my dress while probably planning to take it off my husband. My hand had trembled on my phone as I walked toward our bedroom. The door was ajar. Steam rolled out from the master bathroom, and through the fog I saw them. Marcus, my husband of 4 years, sitting in the custom soaking tub we'd imported from Japan, and Vanessa, her blonde hair slicked back, sitting between his legs, like she belonged there. I watched them for exactly 30 seconds. Then I closed the door softly and turned the lock. The key was an antique brass piece Marcus had insisted on keeping when we renovated. It adds character, he'd said. Now it felt heavy in my palm. Solid, final, perfect. I pulled out my phone and scrolled to a number I'd never thought I'd use this way. Carson Properties. How may I direct your call? James Chum, please. Tell him it's Diana Wellington. It's urgent. James Chun was Vanessa's husband. Venture capitalist. Quiet, methodical, terrifying when crossed. I'd met him twice at building events. The last time was at the rooftop barbecue in July, where he grilled burgers while Marcus and I had laughed about something trivial, while our spouses were probably already sneaking around behind our backs. Diana? James's voice was cautious. Is everything all right? No, James, nothing is all right. I need you to come to my penthouse immediately. Don't call Vanessa. Don't text her. Just come. There's something you need to see with your own eyes. Silence stretched between us. I could hear papers rustling in the background, the hum of an office building. I'm in a meeting. James. My voice was steel. I'm standing outside my master bathroom. Your wife is in my bathtub with my husband. If you want the truth, you have 10 minutes to get here before I unlock this door and they disappear with some pathetic excuse." I heard his sharp intake of breath. Then his voice, low and dangerous. "Don't move. I'm 8 minutes away." I ended the call and leaned against the hallway wall, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might crack my ribs. Through the door, I could hear Marcus's voice, muffled. Told you. She never comes home early. Vanessa's laugh, bright and careless. "We have at least 2 hours. Relax, baby." Baby. She called my husband baby. I looked down at my wedding ring, 3 carats, princess cut, set in platinum. Marcus had proposed on a yacht in the Mediterranean. Fireworks exploding over the water. A photographer capturing every moment for Instagram. 50,000 likes. Everyone had called us relationship goals. I twisted the ring off my finger and dropped it in my suit pocket. 7 minutes later, the private elevator chimed. James Chun stepped into the hallway, his face carved from granite. "Show me," he said. James Chun was built like someone who'd played college football and never quite let it go 6'3". Broad shoulders, a presence that filled rooms. Right now, that presence was coiled rage barely contained in an expensive suit. I pointed to the locked door. He walked forward, placed his ear against the wood. His jaw tightened. When he looked back at me, his eyes were black ice. "How long?" "I don't know," I said quietly. "I came home 20 minutes ago. Found them like this. The door's locked?" I held up the key. He nodded slowly. "Good call." Then he pulled out his phone and made a call. "Rachel, clear my afternoon." "All of it. Something's come up." He listened for a moment. "No, I'll explain later." "Just do it." We stood there in the hallway, 2 people whose lives had just detonated, waiting for the fallout. "Did you suspect?" James asked finally. "No? You?" I thought something was off. Vanessa started working out more. New lingerie appearing in the laundry. She said she was taking a Pilates class. His laugh was bitter. Guess she was getting her exercise another way. Inside the bathroom, water sloshed. Marcus's voice. "We should probably get out soon. I have a 4 o'clock with the board." The board. Marcus had a board meeting while his marriage was ending on the other side of a locked door. "What's your play here?" James asked, looking at me with something like respect. "You didn't call me just to witness this." "Evidence," I said simply. "My prenup is ironclad unless there's infidelity. I need you to see this. Witness it. Confirm it happened. Smart." He pulled out his own phone. "I'm doing the same. No prenup, but Illinois is an equitable distribution state. This is going to cost her." I turned the key slowly. The lock clicked. The sound inside stopped abruptly. I pushed the door open. Marcus's face went from relaxed to confused to absolutely terrified in 3 seconds. Vanessa screamed, grabbing for a towel, water sloshing everywhere. "Diana," Marcus started. "Don't," I said, my voice cold enough to frost the windows. "Don't say my name." James stepped into the doorway beside me. Vanessa. Get dressed. Now." His wife's face went white. Vanessa scrambled out of the tub, wrapping herself in my Egyptian cotton towel, the one with my monogram on it. The irony wasn't lost on me. "James, please, I can explain," she started. "Explain what?" His voice was quiet, which was somehow worse than yelling. "Explain how you're naked in another man's bathtub." I'm fascinated to hear this. Marcus finally seemed to realize the gravity of the situation. He stood up in the tub naked, vulnerable, pathetic, and reached for his robe. "This isn't what it looks like." I actually laughed. "Really, Marcus?" "Because it looks like you're having an affair with our neighbor in our home. What else could it possibly be? We were just, spare me." I pulled out my phone and started taking photos. The wet footprints on my marble floor. The 2 wine glasses on the counter, one with Vanessa's signature burgundy lipstick. The men's watch on the sink. The woman's bracelet. Everything. What are you doing? Marcus's voice rose in panic. Documenting your mistakes. I turned to James. You should do the same. He was already photographing, his face a mask of controlled fury. Vanessa tried to rush past him, but he blocked the doorway. Move, James, get dressed first. You're not leaving my sight until we get some answers. I walked to my closet and grabbed the first overnight bag I found, ironically. One Marcus had given me for our anniversary last year. I started throwing his clothes into it. Suits, shoes, the monogram cufflinks I'd bought him. Diana, what are you doing? Marcus had put on his robe finally, was watching me with growing panic. You have 1 hour to pack whatever else you need and leave. Your lawyer can contact my lawyer about retrieving the rest. This is my house. Actually, Marcus, if you'd bothered to read the property deed, this penthouse is in my name. You insisted on it for tax purposes, remember? My name, my property. You're trespassing. His face went pale. You can't kick me out of my own home. Watch me. I threw the bag at his feet. 1 hour. Then I'm calling building security and having you removed. James was pushing Vanessa toward the door. We're leaving, now. As James and Vanessa disappeared into the elevator, I stood in my penthouse and let myself feel it. The betrayal, the humiliation, the rage. Then I picked up my phone and made the hardest call of my life. Wellington Tech, how may I direct your call? Catherine Wellington, please. This is Diana, her daughter-in-law. Marcus's mother and I had always had a cordial relationship. She'd built Wellington Tech with her late husband before Marcus took over. She was the real power behind the company, still on the board, still holding 40% of voting shares. Diana. Darling, what a pleasant surprise. Catherine. I need to see you. Today. It's urgent, and it's about Marcus. Her tone shifted immediately. What's happened? Is he hurt? Not physically, but I need to speak with you in person. It's sensitive. Come to the estate. I'll clear my afternoon. The Wellington estate was 40 minutes north, a sprawling property in Lake Forest with gardens that could host weddings. Catherine met me at the door herself, her silver hair perfect, her eyes sharp with concern. What's wrong? I showed her the photos. She sat down slowly on an antique chair in her sitting room, looking at each image. Her face revealed nothing, but her hands trembled slightly. How long? She asked finally. I don't know. I found them today. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, you know about the prenup. Yes, infidelity voids his protections. But Catherine, I'm not telling you this to destroy Marcus financially. I'm telling you because you deserve to know what kind of man is running your late husband's company. She looked at me then, really looked. You could take half of everything he's worth. The prenup protects you completely. I don't want half of everything. I want what's fair. And I want to make sure Wellington Tech survives this. Your husband built something important. Marcus's personal mistakes shouldn't destroy that legacy. Catherine's eyes filled with tears, the first emotion she'd shown. You're being more gracious than he deserves. I'm being strategic. And I'm being human. I leaned forward. But I need your support, Catherine. When this goes public, and it will, I need the board to know I'm not the villain. She reached across and took my hand. You have my support, Diana. Completely. My lawyer, Rebecca Torres, was in her office within an hour of my call. She was known for 2 things: never losing a divorce case and never showing mercy to cheating spouses. Show me everything. She said. I laid out the photos, the timeline. The witness, James Chun. Rebecca's expression never changed, but I saw the glint in her eyes. She loved cases like this. The prenup is crystal clear. Infidelity forfeits his protections. You're entitled to half his assets, full ownership of all marital property, and substantial alimony. I don't want to destroy him, Rebecca. I want what's fair. She looked at me over her glasses. Fair is you getting compensated for 4 years of marriage to a man who betrayed you in your own home. Fair is you not having to work another day if you don't want to. But I want to work. I built my career independent of Marcus. I don't want to be known as the woman who took her billionaire husband to the cleaners. Ma'am, what do you want? I'd been thinking about this since leaving Catherine's estate. I want the penthouse. I want my fair share of our joint assets. Nothing more, nothing less. I want him to cover all legal fees. And I want a confidentiality clause that protects both of us from tabloid nightmares. Rebecca made notes. Reasonable. He'll probably fight you on the penthouse. It's worth $12 million. It's in my name. He can fight all he wants. That night, alone in the penthouse, I walked through rooms that suddenly felt different. The living room where we'd hosted engagement parties. The kitchen where Marcus had made me breakfast exactly once in 4 years. The bedroom where I'd slept beside a stranger wearing my husband's face. I poured myself a glass of wine, a room where I'd slept beside a stranger wearing my husband's face. I poured myself a stranger wearing my husband's face. I poured myself a glass of wine, 1982 Chateau Margaux, that Marcus had been saving for a special occasion. This felt special enough that my phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Please, Diana, we need to talk. I made a mistake. I love you. I blocked his number. Another text. This one from Catherine. The board knows. They're not pleased. But they support your decision to handle this privately. You're stronger than my son deserves. I sat on my balcony, looking out over the city lights, and realized something profound. I'd built my life around being Marcus Wellington's wife. It was time to remember who Diana Castellano was. 3 months later, the divorce was finalized. Marcus had fought initially, hired an aggressive attorney, threatened to drag me through court. Then Catherine had called him into the boardroom and explained exactly what would happen if he didn't sell quietly. She'd vote him out as CEO. He settled. I kept the penthouse. I received a fair division of assets, enough to be comfortable, not enough to make headlines. He paid all legal fees. And the confidentiality agreement meant that no tabloid would ever print the details of his affair. But something else happened during those 3 months. I got promoted. Meridian Capital offered me Senior Vice President of Global Acquisitions. The Nakamura deal I'd closed. It opened doors to contracts worth hundreds of millions. My name was gaining traction in finance circles, not as Marcus Wellington's wife, but as Diana Castellano. Dealmaker. James Chum called me one Wednesday afternoon. Coffee? We met at a small place in the Loop, far from our building, far from memories. How you holding up? He asked. Better than I expected. You? Same. Vanessa and I finalized last month. She moved to New York. And Marcus? Still in Chicago, but he's keeping a low profile. Catherine has him on a short leash at Wellington Tech. We sat in comfortable silence, 2 people who'd survived the same storm. Thank you, James said finally, for calling me that day. You could have just kicked Marcus out and left me in the dark. We both deserved the truth. Most people wouldn't have thought of that. Most people would have been too wrapped up in their own pain. He looked at me with something like admiration. You're remarkable, Diana. I'm just someone who refused to be a victim. 6 months after the divorce, I was having dinner with my team celebrating a major acquisition when I saw him. Marcus Wellington across the restaurant, alone at the bar. He looked older, tired, smaller somehow without the armor of our marriage. Our eyes met. He raised his glass, slightly acknowledgement, maybe apology. I nodded once. not forgiveness. Just recognition that we both survived. Then I turned back to my team, to my life, to my future. Some chapters end not with grand gestures, but with quiet acceptance that they're over. 1 year after I locked that bathroom door, I stood in my penthouse, and barely recognized the woman I'd been. The space had been redecorated. The cream furniture Marcus chose was gone, replaced with bold emerald and gold. The wedding photos had been removed, replaced with art I'd chosen myself, powerful, vibrant, alive. I just returned from Singapore, closing a deal that would make Meridian Capital a major player in Asian markets. My career was thriving in ways I'd never imagined when I was trying to be the perfect billionaire's wife. My phone rang. Catherine Wellington. Diana, I wanted you to hear this from me first. The board voted today. Marcus is stepping down as CEO. I sat down slowly. Is he all right? He will be, but he's not ready for this level of responsibility. We're bringing in new leadership. Marcus will remain on the board, but in a limited capacity. She paused. I wanted to thank you for handling everything with such grace. A lesser person would have destroyed him. Destroying him wouldn't have healed me. Catherine? No, but many people wouldn't understand that distinction. After we hung up, I walked to my balcony and looked out over Lake Michigan. The water was dark and endless, reflecting city lights like scattered diamonds. I thought about the woman who'd stood in that hallway a year ago, listening to her husband betray her. That woman had been scared, hurt, shattered. But she'd also been strong enough to act, brave enough to demand truth, and wise enough to know that revenge and justice weren't the same thing. Marcus had tried to break me. Instead, he'd freed me to build a career without living in anyone's shadow, freed me to discover my own strength, freed me to understand that my worth had never been tied to his name, his money, or his validation. The best revenge wasn't taking everything he had thought it was building something so extraordinary that what he'd done became irrelevant. My phone buzzed with a text from Rebecca. Torres, congratulations on the Singapore deal. Drinks Friday? I smiled and typed back, absolutely. I'm buying, because I could afford to now. Not because of a divorce settlement, but because I'd earned it on my own, by myself, as Diana Castellano did, and that made all the difference.